So, of course, this weekend was the Pokemon World Championships in Washington, D.C., and a lot of stuff happened. We're going to go over some of it, primarily focus on my experience. We're going to talk about a variety of things, including, let's see, what I did, some of the things I saw, stuff like that. All right, so the way this is going to go is first off, I have a little PowerPoint presentation that we're going to go through, and the second part, I have some various things to show off there. All right, so let's see here. Application window. Okay, so first off, let's get the some of the big things out of the way. If you're curious who won in each age division for each competition, there we go. We have a nice little picture there that I took of the winners. But if you take a look on the left-hand side are the people who finished first and second in the trading card game. Right-hand side is the video game, and then at the bottom I have the list of people for Pokken. Which finished up yesterday on Saturday, and thus is not in this picture. All right. So let's see. A few notable things. Japan did pretty well, as they often do. Not sure if anyone from the U.S. The only thing for Colin I could find was North America was as close as I could find. But we do have, let's see, in seniors trading card game, we do have a female champion, which is always a nice bit of progress to see. And from Germany, but let's see, got someone from Taiwan, Australia. So I'd say a pretty good mix, but I think Japan obviously did the best in terms of first place finishes. Those of you who have watched the closing ceremony will know that the guy on the far left, when he got his second place trophy, that. But that was kind of a little bit of an moment in the closing ceremonies for us. All right, so like a lot of world championships, there are some things you expect there, and let's go over the things you expect to be there and are definitely there. So in the top left, you have a picture of the prize wall for side events. The top right, you have some retro gaming. They've been doing more and more of this. It's actually run by that, and the side event, like credit card processing, is all run by a company called Gaming Generations, based out of Onalaska, Wisconsin, which is kind of interesting since I went to college near there. Let's see. At the bottom left, you can see the trophies. You notice there is a Champions Trophy in the middle, the silver second place trophy. No idea if that is the specific one where the cup part came off there. And then there's also a semi-finalist trophy, which is a little smaller bronze one like that you see. And of course, if you look at the bottom right, that's part of the hive, which is where all the match slip goes and a lot of logistical stuff. And it takes a lot of people to run an event like this. And so I always try and say thanks, and I think you should too. All right, so in addition to some of the usual things you expect, are also some things that were brought over from the North American International Championship, which was 2 months ago in Columbus, Ohio. They brought some things that were there over to here. So on the left, you can see, of course, is the Sword and Shield demo. I didn't really bother with this one because I'm pretty sure looks like it's pretty much the same demo that was at North American Internationals with that one gym they have there. They might have done a few fixes on the demo there. But otherwise, it's pretty much the same. And they also are doing this first step check-in. And so this is for folks who don't really know how to play the trading card game, but want to go through and kind of learn there. And they have a little like multi-step process there where you can learn from some folks. So that's kind of raise awareness, and I guess gives parents something to do while their kids are playing so they can figure out what their kids do if they play the trading card game. But those were two things that were carried over. But there were one or two new things. So first off on the left, sorry I don't have the most exciting picture, but they have the upcoming Pokemon Masters game. It's cell phone and tablet application that's going to be coming out. I don't know if they've given a specific date, but there is a pretty high number, like 5 million pre-registered for it. I did do the demo myself. It's kind of hard for me to describe. It's a very short demo, actually. You go through one battle, and basically you're commanding a team of 3 trainers against another team of 3 trainers, and you sort of have to choose when to use your moves and where. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to glean a ton from that demo, so maybe not the best demo. Might have been better to have like a thing in there that sort of explained more of it. We are going to have a few criticisms here in this presentation. It's not going to be all sunshine, but I did have, for the most part, a good time. Over on the right-hand side, you can see that they were doing a feature of Detective Pikachu, which sounds really good, but I guess there's no such thing as a free Detective Pikachu showing. What I mean by that is actually, apparently, for some legal/contractual reason, I wasn't able to get the full details on it. If you actually went to see this, they would be playing the director's commentary with overlays and stuff. I think they turned the subtitles on so you could at least see what the dialogue was, but kind of an odd arrangement. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe this started out as one thing, and then they, I don't know, sunk cost fallacy or something like that. I think it would have been better to do maybe what they did last year for Worlds and bring some folks involved with the movie, and maybe they could do a Q&A or a panel or something like that once or twice during the weekend. I think that would have been a little, maybe a better use there. But yeah, so that was, I guess, a little disappointing once I found that one out. But you can see there they actually have a little bit of a photo spot where you can sit on the crate and take your photo there. It also plays into something else you'll see a little bit later. So that was some of the new stuff I hadn't seen before. And I want to talk a lot about the stage here. So this is obviously every major event there is a stage. One side is used for trading card games, and the other side is used for video game competition. And then in the middle, there's usually a presentation area where they'll make announcements. And of course, the opening ceremonies are all there, as well as the closing ceremonies. But, you know, I don't remember, since I didn't go to Nashville, I don't remember exactly what that looks like. The Anaheim one was decent. But this one, wow. Whoever they contracted out for this, I think they did a pretty good job. And, you know, whatever creative input came from Pokemon, I think they also did a good job there. This is sort of a wide angle shot where you can see pretty much the whole thing there. And of course, some chairs in front of it. But honestly, I was pretty impressed with it aesthetically. We have a few more things on the next slide. Let's take a look here. By the way, if you have questions, unfortunately, right this second, I cannot see the chat, but as soon as this PowerPoint is done with, I'll take a look there and see if you've got anything. But, you know, this was a museum or artifact-themed Worlds. And so, first of all, what they've got there, they've got some skeletons, some fossilized, quote-unquote, skeletons. I'm sure they're probably made of plastic or, I don't know, something else, something like that. They certainly aren't made of real bone. But they got, what, Tyrantrum and Bastiodon skeletons there. If you look around, you also see some Aerodactyl stuff. They did a lot of very fossil-y type stuff, both here and in some other places we'll talk about. But the attention to detail is actually really nice there. I don't know what they're going to do with these afterwards. I hope they go to maybe they'll go around some of the Pokemon centers in Japan or something, because I think more people ought to see them. The right-hand pictures just kind of show some of the light fog and ambiance they really went for there with this. Like I said, I think this is definitely one of the better ones, and I look to see more like this in the future. I wonder what they're going to do next year. But some really nice design work there, and I hope whoever worked on this, you did a good job. All right, so I played most of my time in side events this weekend. I actually didn't pay a ton of attention to the main event there. And there were some good parts about that and some not so good parts about the side events. So first of all, on Friday, I went straight into a build and battle competition. And in the 4 packs that you get in there, I got extremely, extremely good pulls there. I got 2 of these Raichu and Alolan Raichu Tag Team GXs in 4 packs, which is astounding. The odds of something like that happening is astronomical, and I guess I just pulled those. I thought about just using those 2 there, especially since they have that attack that does more if you brought it up this turn. But I did play some other stuff, and I did relatively well there. I believe it was at least 2-1. The tournaments you're going to play there are usually maximum of 3 rounds, unless there's something really big. Over on the right-hand side, you can see they were running some Pokemon Go stuff. Now, it wasn't like what was done at some of the previous things where you could earn tickets for the prize wall. Instead, they had a separate prize list. But if you take a look on the right-hand side, there were 12 objectives. You got, for signing up, you got one of these wristbands. Presumably, you would take one of your own team. If you get, I think, at least one thing done, you would get a booster pack. And then you would also get some, eventually get more rewards. If you got half of them, you would get one reward, one large reward. And if you got all 12 of them, you could get 2 of them. So some of it was what? Trade with Pokemon with trainers that have whose usernames start with D or C. You need one of each. Catch a Relicanth or Aerodactyl. They were doing some special spawning. First of all, in Pokemon Go, a lot of fossil Pokemon. And then also, if you completed some of the, some of the field research, you would get a chance to catch at least an Aerodactyl. I think Relicanth was in there too, but I only ever saw the Aerodactyl, and I managed to fulfill that one. Lucky Pokemon through a trade. Hatch 7 eggs. I did manage that one. Let's see. Any Pikachu in the Detective Pikachu photo op spot. So that was that one we saw a few slides ago. Let's see. Bastiodon or Rampardos. Didn't have either of those to take a picture with. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure if that other skeleton was that. It looked more like a Tyrantrum to me, but someone go ahead and correct me if I'm wrong about all of that. In any case, let's see. Oh, you need to take a photo with people from all 3 teams. Was able to do that one. Legendary Pokemon next to a banner with the same Pokemon. I did that with a Groudon. Let's see. Local gym. Didn't have any luck with that. 5 new friends. Didn't quite get there. Trade of over 6,000 kilometers. I managed to do that by trading a local person with one of the Pokemon I caught in Europe. And let's see. And also there's some PvP side events that you could do there. I also wanted to, normally I would crop this down to show less of the task, to not show the picture on the right, but I just, Chespin with that excessively heavy backpack. I'm not sure if that's also supposed to be a reference. I'm pretty sure that Clement had the Chespin in the anime and also had a very large backpack. So I'm not sure if that's supposed to be some sort of nod or tie-in there, but I love that picture. Whoever did that art, good on you. Okay, so let's see. So kind of the downside of the side events is that there were a lot of folks at this event this year. There were actually, let's see, I was told about the number for spectators and competitors combined was somewhere around 1,900 plus a couple hundred staff. You may notice that the Pokemon Twitter feed tweeted out a photo, which you can find me in if you know where to look, of some of the folks that they did a group photo just before the closing ceremonies. But kind of the downside of that is that side events really ran short on tables for a lot of Saturday and even part of Sunday, because there was a lot of space being used for the DC Open, which, you know, I'm glad they do something like that. But and then some other things. So Saturday I actually wound up, I did play in like 3 side events, which was kind of a miracle, to be honest. And I, like I said, I want to say that the staff there, they did more or less their best there with the resources they had. They had to draft a few extra people to help out, but good on you folks who put the extra time in there. Let's see, where was I going with that? Oh, but I ended up playing a lot of the Go stuff that day in between, and I was a little disappointed because they actually ended up canceling on Saturday. I think both of the Let's Go Switch tournaments, which is kind of too bad. I did play in those on Friday and today. But yeah, things eventually did kind of clear out once folks dropped, but you know, even then a lot of them were playing in side events, which also still took up table space. So in the future, they may want to plan for a bit more space for side events or have some sort of overflow plan or something like that would be, I think, something they should look into. You know, easier said than done, perhaps, but you get the idea. Excuse me. All right. Well, at the closing ceremonies, we got a couple more, and then I'll show you some of the stuff I got. But they announced next year's location, which is London, England. At least judging by the flag and the clock there, I would call it Big Ben, but that's actually part of the thing there, not the whole thing. I assume they don't mean London, Ontario, Canada. No offense. Will I be going to this? You may be wondering. I don't know yet. It sort of depends on my work schedule and some other things, and they didn't give us an exact date. Apparently, they don't have that quite settled yet, but once they have the contract signed, hopefully within the next few months, hopefully by the time they get the World Championship decks for this year out, they'll have those dates down. But I do intend to go there and maybe do some other stuff. I was in London for both of the internationals they had there in 2016 and 2017 until this season where they moved it to Berlin for Europe. But looking forward to that, and I hope I get to take some folks with me. And by which I mean, of course, some of my relatives. Let's see. And then before we wrap up the PowerPoint part of this, I want to let you all know we have another live stream coming up this Saturday, August 24th at 8 p.m. Central Time. And it's going to be me and Ann from PQB Podcast. We're going to be talking about the music of Pokemon Pinball for the Game Boy Color. So we're sort of whittling down what we want to talk about there. We haven't quite exactly figured out how we're going to adapt our format, but if you have thoughts on that, be sure to join our chat on this Saturday, the 24th. Okay, and that's the end of that presentation, but there's still plenty more to show here. All right. Let's see. Okay, we got a comment in from Mr. Chabry. Line of sight events were pretty long, yeah, because let me kind of explain how that worked again. First, you had to pay for whatever side events, and that was kind of the long part because they would hold people up there until they started getting more tables free. Then it was a little bit awkward because, people would pay for stuff, but they wouldn't all necessarily be in the same thing. So after you paid, you would go register for the event you paid for. It was just... And then, we got a few more comments here. I'll try to answer a few of these. We can certainly do them. Umbreon making it to finals. Well, I have a bit of an attachment to Umbreon. A lot of that comes, I think, from going through recently Pokemon Coliseum, both at home and also at some of these conventions they have it set up. I didn't actually see that match, but I always like to see a little bit of a twist in there. A deck that people don't quite expect or a team member people don't quite expect. You never want these things to be too predictable. So that's kind of what's going on with some of that. Unfortunately, I did not actually see that match, so I can't comment too much on it. But, whoever that was, I forget who they said it was, but good on you for, experimenting with something and making it work. I always like to see that every once in a while. All right, so let's talk about a few things. So they had a couple places you could get stuff, and one of those was a Pokemon Center store. They have one of those. This one seems to be a little bit bigger than usual. I'm sure it's just a combination of how much space they wanted and what was available and all that stuff. I picked up two things there. So first off, I picked up, believe it or not, I've never owned a playmat for the Pokemon trading card game, and so this time I picked up this one. So this is, they put out a bunch of Psyduck merchandise recently. And this is the playmat of it. I like to call it, even though Slowbro's only in one panel, they got that tag team GX with Psyduck and Slowpoke. And I'd like to see those kind of, I keep joking that that's a great recipe for like a sitcom or something like that, which is kind of funny. But this is the first playmat I've got. I think it kind of reflects my personality pretty well. If Pokemon does want to make more offbeat ones, I can't say I'm going to buy them all, but I kind of would like to see more of that. I know they usually do like the TCG like reference art and stuff like that, but I would like to see more offbeat ones like that. All right, so the other thing I bought from the Pokemon Center is this hoodie. I'm not going to take it out of the bag because I'm not going to use this. Well, at least till next month. We'll see. Probably sometime by October. You never know what the weather in Wisconsin is going to be like, because we had that time a couple years ago where we didn't hit a frost in Madison until like November. Things like that just kind of happen sometimes. But the reason I picked this up, I don't know if it comes up on the camera too well. It's got a lot of designs here for the various things. A lot of them had Explorer hats and different Pokemon. I suppose next year for London, we'll see in Pikachu in either as a British police officer or Bobby, or in one of those, soldier uniforms you see like outside Buckingham Palace or whatever it is. I have a feeling that's pretty likely for London. Um, but I'm trying to get more themed clothing that I can wear outside of the summer. Like these T-shirts are fine and all, but if I can only wear them like 4 months out of the year or whatever, or depending on the weather in Wisconsin, that's not quite as much fun. All right, so you may be wondering, well, gee, what did I get with the Pokemon Go, and what did I get with the tickets that I got from there? All right, so first let's talk about the Go stuff. So first off, I got this. Remember they did that thing where they had a bunch of people play Pokemon Go. I saw a little bit of it. They had Junichi Masuda sort of as a celebrity person. I'm not sure if they're going to bring this into more stuff as time goes on, but I got a couple stickers that go in this set. That was one of the other things you got. Um, and then I probably would have gotten, I already have one Team Mystic shirt, but they have a different style that was available, but not when I actually went to claim stuff. They were running out. Mystic is, I believe, still to this day, the biggest of the three teams within there. So I ended up getting this thing that goes on the back of your smartphone. I forget what the technical name is for this. I'm not sure I'm ever going to use it, but it was something, and I wanted to get something out of my time there. Okay, let's see. And then I got, as far as the tickets go, well, the way those work is that you can always get something. Tickets are given out in units of 10, is the smallest unit. You can Sorry about that. There was a bit of a dropout, but I got a full-on booster box of not Unified Minds, but obviously the set before that. In part because of the limited availability of side events and then things like that, I was a bit limited. I didn't earn as many points as I did there, but I did pick up a couple things. First off, I picked up another one of these gallery figures. This one is, of course, as you can see, they're Vulpix, showing off the Fire Spin. I do like these. I have the other one that I got at North American International, was a Mew statue that I got there. And I have that in my office. I haven't really taken it out of the box, but it is on display there. Excuse me. Ugh. And then with my remaining points, I wasn't sure exactly what to get. Some things I didn't get. Well, obviously, you can see here I got Let's Go Pikachu. This is actually interesting. This is the second physical Switch game I have. The first one is Breath of the Wild that I bought when I bought my system. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this for myself or give it to maybe use it as a door prize in an upcoming tournament. I got to talk with our tournament organizer over at Pegasus about that. Some things I considered getting but did not. They had like an unknown plastic mug that you could use. The problem was it was hand wash only. It's not dishwasher safe, so that kind of put me away from that. I didn't want to really just get more and more cards because after North American Internationals, I got so much. I hadn't opened that box of cards either. I think we might use that as a door prize or something like that. As you collect more stuff, it's harder and harder, I think, to find things you want. But for the most part, I really enjoyed my time. There were some definite problems they ran into, notably space, or notably tables, really. If they had access to a few more tables, they could have run a few more side events. That was kind of the big kind of problem they ran into. They were able to eventually, like I said, draft a few folks to get some extra stuff done. And that's sort of what happened there. I'm not sure. Does anyone, we do have another viewer, Mr. Chabry. Do you have any other questions you'd like to ask us about this? Like I said, just a reminder, things coming up. First of all, I should be getting, speaking of, well, I don't know if I've mentioned music too much on this one, but it may have come while I was out. The Detective Pikachu vinyl soundtrack should be coming in soon if it hasn't already for me, and I want to do an unboxing video of that. There's also another person I ran into who was interested in doing an interview regarding the DC Open, and I gave him my contact information because I wasn't really in a position to do an interview on site when he had asked me. But I would be interested in doing that, and hopefully he gets in touch with me eventually. I would like to learn more about that tournament. And then, let's see. Obviously, we have the discussion on Pokemon pinball music. We're also going to talk a little bit about the game itself in there and some of the mechanics. One thing I'd be interested in knowing is, first of all, there was that game. There was Ruby and Sapphire. I did play some of Ruby and Sapphire here. They didn't have the original Pokemon pinball on those retro machines, unfortunately. And the one thing I've kind of noticed is that the original Pokemon pinball has some kind of wacky pinball physics, whereas the Ruby and Sapphire one is a little bit closer to a normal quote-unquote pinball game. So that's going to, I think, factor into some of our post-discussion on the game itself next Saturday. But yeah, like I said, don't know if I'm going to London, but I certainly hope to. Other than that, I think that's about what we've got this time. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any comments or questions about Worlds, go ahead and put those in the comments. All right, folks, thanks.